something I get to do.
Aloha.
I'm always doing the Hawaiian thing.
You hear someone in the background? That's because we're live, people. Welcome and enjoying this wonderful Aloha Friday. Live from Maui, my name is Willow Chang Alion, and this is yet another edition of The Art of Life. We are a new show that debuted about a month ago, and we are on every Friday from the hours of 2 to 3 p.m. You can catch us live on the web. You can also check us out on YouTube if you're an archival kind of person or you can't watch us while you're at work. And you can also listen to us on the radio. Technology is our friend. Anyway, so if you might be wondering why I'm in Maui right now, I'm going to give you a heads up. 2 weeks ago we had a guest. That was Mr. Sonny Silva, and he's the head of a band called the Hot Club of Hulaville. Well, as you know, or maybe you don't, I'm also with the Hot Club of Hulaville. That's a shameless plug, but that's also journalistic integrity right there. And today is the day of our big show. We have one of two shows happening this weekend. Today's show in Maui, tomorrow's show in Honolulu. So, we're no slouches here at ThinkTech Hawaii. We are encouraged to take the show on the road and keep all of our friends and fans out there abreast of what's going on in the islands, and that certainly includes Maui. We don't want to forget our local people, outer island. So here's today's show. We have two things happening simultaneously. We have a sound check out there. We're in the green room right now. And we're going to have this wonderful interview. So bear with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And sitting here in this fabulous cane chair, it's going to be the hot seat of Hulaville. You're going to have a chance to meet some of the movers and shakers that create this wonderful band and experience. And each of them contribute so much to the arts and the life. Pardon me? Okay. Sorry about that, people. It is live, and I have the omniscient voice of God, even though I'm here in Maui. See? Anyway, we're going to have various artists coming and sitting in the chair and discussing what makes their journey so interesting. I'm really glad that you're here. This is The Art of Life. We are featured by ThinkTech Hawaii. You can check us out at thinktechhawaii.com. And just know, if you have some ideas that you'd like to share with us, rants or raves, compliments, jeers, cheers, all that stuff, you can send us an email. You can join us on Facebook. And you're always welcome to be a guest in our gallery. So keep those ideas floating. I think we have someone in the hot seat. Come over here. Who's joining me?
Hello.
My goodness.
Hi, Willow.
It's Jonathan Seibert. What are the chances? What are you doing here in Maui?
I came all this way just to see you perform, actually. I'm a big fan, and I'm so glad that I get to see you sing and be your wonderful personality self.
He was not paid to say that, but the reality is...
Only $5.
Jason, see what happens when it's live TV? Oh, he wants us to move a little closer. Okay, don't get mad, husbands and girlfriends. Okay.
You have more than one husband?
No.
Did not know that.
Alrighty, so Jonathan Clark Seibert is a force. If you don't know about him, I'm going to politely say shame on you. He is an educator, a facilitator, I'm using fingers to count this off, a musician, a poet. He raps, he dances. There are so many things he does, and he is continually committed to uplifting the communities artistically and the youth of Hawaii and abroad through his art. And I'm so glad that he's here. So, Jonathan,
Thank you for asking me to be here. This is very nice. So, in all seriousness, we're both here for the John Pizzarelli concert, his John Pizzarelli Quartet, as well as the Hot Club of Hulaville reunion tour. Now it seems, and it's very exciting so far. Yes, there is a sound check happening right now, and yes, all those things that you listed off. That's pretty much what I do. I love to perform, but I feel that's very important to be as balanced as possible. And the thing that brings me the most balance and joy is being able to teach, so that I can fill my cup and empty my cup, as it were.
I like that. I like that. So let me share this. One of the things that you have created in Hawaii rather consistently are hip hoperas. Now, we're not going to necessarily have access to that tonight, but I wanted you to maybe give us a little idea of what is a hip opera, because I find it very fascinating, the idea of integrating music and story and theater in a different format.
Well, hip opera, as a term, is not anything that I've created, but I did create my own within that genre.
Right.
Bringing music and storytelling and acting together on stage, as it were, pretty much is musical theater. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But I guess the most mainstream example that you could find would be there's a version of Carmen. Put together.
Okay.
Beyonce was in it. Mackay Pfeiffer was in it. Really interesting as far as like a film version of what hip opera could be. The music of hip hop being the vehicle for the storytelling. The person that I look up to most, though, is Will Power, and Will Power is he's a master storyteller, playwright, and hip hop musician and performer himself. He's taught at various universities, and I had the opportunity to find out about him and study him when I went back to get my undergrad at UH, and I was taking a political theater class, and at the same time I was already writing my play, which was loosely based on the events that happened in 1984 by George Orwell. And as I'm writing my play, I'm getting to read his work and check out his website and just see everything that he was doing. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is exactly what I've been wanting to do, but now I have a model which to base it off of. So shout out to Will Power. Thank you very much for being an inspiration.
That is really awesome. I'm going to tie it back to Hulaville, because I think what Sonny does in his own realm is he's using music as a device and putting it in a theatrical context. And some of the shows that you've done, and I think you're going to reprise for this one, is embodying the energy and the essence of Cab Calloway.
Yes.
Duke Ellington in the mix as well.
A little bit. Well, tonight I'll be doing some Cab Calloway and Tom Waits.
Whoa.
Yes. So I get to be up here, and then I get to do some of this.
That's a cocktail of fabulosity right there.
That's going to be fun.
I think something that I hear from you, that I hear frequently from our guests, is that we like to work as a continuum. And I think people who maybe are not as, how can I say this gently? If you don't relate to being an artist, or if you're not flexing your artistic muscle, and I think you and I both agree that everyone has artistic ability within, it's a matter of cultivating that.
It's what makes us human.
Yeah, absolutely. When you don't cultivate that, or you don't flex that muscle per se, there's this fantasy that artistic people just magically pull a rabbit out of their ear, and art just happens. It just happens by magic. But what I always hear, and I find personally, as you do, is there's a continuum. We are continually inspired by the works of others, things that came before us, and perhaps is putting things into that cultural and that historical context that allows us to move forward as artists. What do you think?
For sure. Back to what I was talking earlier about balance. This is live.
This is live, baby. Hey, wait, why don't we turn the camera? Hello, Mac. People want to say hello to this is our TV webcam show. Say aloha to the Honolulu people in cyberspace.
Hi there.
This is their break time, so
yes.
Without be fluid.
Without the crew, artists are just people with funny ideas.
Or singing in the shower.
Or singing in the shower. That's right.
Cutting up the rug in the living room.
Or people who can't be heard or seen.
Or perhaps some really bad lighting. Right?
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
Sorry about that.
No.
We were talking about historical and cultural context.
Well, that, and also about the being able to be a person who works with other inspirations constantly happening. That's why I teach, because my students inspire me.
Absolutely.
They inspire me because I'm telling them that they need to learn. So I need to learn. Otherwise, who am I to tell them, you need to look this up because you're going to get a great idea from it. If I just sit around and think I'm going to write expert poetry all day, or I'm just going to craft beautiful music just because I can, no, that's not how it works. You have to have an empty palette that you fill with, wonderful colors from other people's works.
I'm going to comment on this because this is something that I hear, and I like to cite it when I hear it happening, and that is, with greatness, the flip side of greatness, if this were two sides of a coin, it's actually a pouch that I keep my earphones in.
Oh, I thought you were going to say coins.
No.
The coins would be
that. I repurposed it. If this is greatness, the flip side of greatness, I think, is always humility. I always feel that those are such beautiful bedfellows, if I may say so. And that's something that I see as consistent. You have such a high commitment level to your craft and to your art, but you always remain humble. Would you say it's a Hawaii thing? Was it something you were taught by your gurus? Is it something in your family upbringing? Like, I'm always fascinated. What plants the seed of humility for individuals?
For me, I think it was twofold. My mom was my very first teacher ever, and she greatly pushed me to make sure that I was never ashamed to share my craft. But she was also the one who always had a critique ready for me, no matter what. And that's a 24-hour thing that never went away. She was my teacher, but she was my parent. And for that, I'm gratefully indebted to. Very thankful for that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing what I am doing today.
Word.
At the same time, we grew up here in Hawaii, where there's this, I guess it can be best summed up in the phrase, noak.
Even the high maka.
Yeah. There's this sense of you can go too far with being prideful. So, yes, I was encouraged to put myself out there. At the same time that I was taught to do it from a place of just knowing what I was doing was well rehearsed, well practiced, and meant something, and that my community was going to receive it best if I brought that and not, hey, look at me, hey, look at me, look at me.
What he said, ladies and gentlemen. And if there are parents watching the show, and inshallah, God willing, I hope you are, you can't lose sight of how much influence you really wield over your kids, even if they grumble and if they think, Mom, Dad, you're not being cool. Trust me, you gotta lay down the line and be involved, because it really, really makes a difference. I think that's something that you're going to find in common with the various guests on our show, is that they always cite not only a mentor, but also the influence of a parent. Even if it's a tutu, an auntie, whatever, somebody in a familial position is there giving some insight and some guidance. You just can't expect your kids to run wild and find their way home. You got to give them some guidance. It's okay. You don't always have to be their best friend.
And you can be their best friend without being their yes man. Because your best friend should actually hold you accountable. Your best friend is the person who should tell you, really? Not a good idea. Or, that was amazing. And if you can do that with your kids, you actually are being their best friend. Don't just let them do whatever.
Listen to Jonathan Seibert, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, there's another thing that is common other than humility, and that is continual learning, right? So we never reach a point where, even though that cup is full, we are constantly wanting to go to that fountain of knowledge, and there's intellectual curiosity, and there's passion, and there's drive, and all of those things. You've recently returned back to school. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I went back to the University of Hawaii to finish my theater degree, my undergrad, which is really, it's just been something that I've wanted to do for so long. And it's so funny because everybody's like, so you finally went back and got your master's? You got your PhD? And like, hold on a second. let's. Yeah, but I definitely eventually want to get my PhD. I would love to be able to facilitate and run an organization that services artistic needs of people of all walks of life.
Yeah,
I think that art is one of those things that's, again, I believe it's what makes us human, which makes us better mathematicians, makes us better architects, makes us better psychologists. If we can relate to each other with a painting, if we can relate to each other with a song, then we can do anything.
I like this. Let's vote for this guy. Okay, I was told that we have to take a quick little break, but don't leave, because we got a whole lot of other good stuff coming right up. This is The Art of Life. My guest is Jonathan Clark Seipert, and I'm your host, Willow Chang Alion.
I'm Bill Spencer, president of the Hawaii Venture Capital Association. We do monthly luncheon programs with ThinkTech about things that matter to Hawaii entrepreneurs, investors, and business service providers. So join us on the fourth Thursday of every month at the Plaza Club. For information about upcoming events or to join our mailing list, visit hvca.org. See you there.
If you're just joining us, welcome, and if you stayed with us, thank you for staying with us. This is The Art of Life. I'm your host, Willow Chang Alion, and we are on ThinkTechHawaii.com every Friday from 2 to 3 p.m., God willing, and here we are live from Maui, so everything is off the cuff, in the moment, and we're just going to try to keep it clean, my friends. You'll also notice there's going to be people walking through in the background, because we're in the green room. We are in the green room, and we are artists affiliated with the Hot Club of Hulaville, who's having a show tonight in Maui and tomorrow night in Honolulu. Joining with us, one of our illustrious artists and guests, Jonathan Clark Seipert. Welcome again.
Thank you, Willow, for having me again.
So, right before we cut away to break, I was asking you about the fact that you returned to school, and as a lifelong student, and we've worked together in a lot of different types of projects before, I want you to address this, because I think many more people feel the call, the siren's call, to return back to school. But for whatever reason, it's very easy once you start going down that path to say, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, who's going to watch my kids, I'm kind of old, I'm a non-traditional student, I can't afford the books, blah, blah, blah. It's very easy to just shut that down. I would love for you to share with us what motivated you to get over the hump, if you felt that, and what the experience is like. Because I say, well, being a non-traditional student, when I was in school, I was not 18, I was older. Heaven forbid. But I'd like to think that, in my experience, non-traditional students bring so much wealth to the classroom setting. They bring a wealth of knowledge, of life experiences, and just good stuff. What's your experience been?
Well, first of all, I have to say that for anyone who's thinking about going back to school, if you've been away for a while, it's never too late. But sooner is better than later. And if you're feeling the pull, if you're feeling, that nagging sensation, I should really get back to school before I just can't anymore, do it. Just take one class if you have to, if that's all that time or finances allow. Also, whatever your spiritual leaning is, and for me, I feel like everybody should have one. So. Pick one. If you don't have one yet, pick one. They're all wonderful. Whatever your spiritual leaning is, open up to it. Open up to it and allow yourself to lean on a higher power so that you can feel a little bit more connection to the universe, that there are mechanisms working in your favor if you allow them to work in your favor. And don't forget to be thankful to them. I need to be extremely thankful and give a shout out to a wonderful family, the Grandinettis, who I just mentioned wanting to get back to school, and that there were some obstacles in my way, and they helped to remove a major obstacle for me for that. So the Grandinettis, thank you very much.
Yeah, that's what we would call angels. And I know we sound like we're getting into the mystic crystal zone, but the reality is that once you set your intention and you put it out there, you're going to find that people are in a position to help you with that. They really are. They're going to find ways to make the magic happen. That's Sonny, our band leader. You might remember him from 2 weeks ago.
Hey, Sonny.
Say hello.
Aloha.
Do you need it soon, now, later?
Which one of us do you need?
We're actually working on
Sambatik? Can we swing it at the end?
huh?
Can we push it to the end?
Well, we're practicing. You know, it's like I hate to practice wrong if you were around. Like,
Yeah.
It's live, folks. It's live.
Sound check. Sound check. Sound check. This is our sound check song. Sound check. Sound check.
Angels, we're giving grace. We're giving grace. We're giving grace. Anyway.
But yeah, I'd like to just jump on that, piggyback on that.
Yeah.
That the name of the show is ThinkTech.
Yeah,
Correct?
it is.
And well, I would ask everybody to think about where this technology came from. This technology came from our imaginations.
Absolutely. It is the core of that essence. And this is something that kind of slightly gets my goat. Because people think there's a division between technology and art, just as they think there's a division between science and faith, just as they think there's a division between faith and healing arts or Western medicine. Dude, I mean, I'm not going to tell you what to think, but if you were to eradicate and do some weeding in your brain, that idea is not complementary. It is not supportive to the realization that they're interconnected. They really are.
And we could get off on many tangents here. In fact, we could do a show just like throwing stuff back and forth.
Tangents.
And it's one of my personal beliefs that there is no object or item out there that is inherently good or bad. It's how we choose to use it. And with that, go make of that what you will. But getting back to the angels that helped me out, that family, amazing, helped me to get back to school and fill my head with so much more information that I knew was waiting for me. So thank you again for that.
Thank you.
If you have a chance to help someone, maybe say a kid who would like to take dance classes, or you yourself want to take dance classes, I teach at Kaiser High School.
Absolutely.
So if you are on the east side or thinking about moving to the east side, well, we have dance classes at Kaiser High School, thanks to our principal there. I'm also at Kaimuki, in Kaimuki at the Movement Center, which is a nonprofit organization whose mission statement is creating good people through excellent education in the performing arts. That's a pretty awesome mission statement.
It's actually, and it's the truism. That's what happens. I really do believe that. When you have that foundation of pursuing the arts and opening your mind and your heart and focusing, you're going to become an upright citizen.
And if you come by the studio, you actually see it in action. Like sometimes you can go to a place and you feel the vibe. You're like, ooh, or you're like, ah. Ours is one of those ahs. And then the last project that I'd like to talk about that I really enjoy is I work with PALS, which is based out of the University of Hawaii at Manoa, and it's a program for literacy support. They bring out all kinds of artists and individuals of scientific backgrounds and everything.
Yeah.
Give the kids aquaponics, robotics, poetry, and I get to teach dance. So
that is
big ups to PALS.
Fantastic. So for our friends out there listening, our friends and our fans, Jonathan is showing you that lifelong learning is where it's at. He's dealing with small keiki, he's dealing with kids in high school, he's dealing with adults pursuing higher education, and that's really the thread here, is that school is not something that you just finish once you get a degree, right? I just saw The Wizard of Oz again for like the 100th time, and it was on the original 3D IMAX. It was killer. The moment they cued the music, I had my hanky and I was already weeping like a baby. Yes, I'm one of those people. I had to fight like singing along with the munchkins.
Yes.
Ding dong, the witch is dead. But anyway, they had some really interesting insights about learning, right? And he states that it's really not about the brain. Right? He was saying, oh, anybody who has a brain can just talk a lot. And there were some very insightful things about the educational process. And
he's like, what you need is a diploma.
Exactly. My dad used to call it a certified smart person paper. And shout out to my dear old dad. My dad went to Harvard. He was no slouch. But he also understood and he put into perspective that what you do with your mind, what you do with your actions is so much more important than where you get your paper from. And I think that that's essential for people, especially in Hawaii, to remember, because we might be inclined to feel that we're not good enough because we're on this island. Maybe your parents can't afford a fancy education at USC or whatever. You know what? Just go for it.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, it's what you do with your mind. It's not where you got your paper. Don't get me wrong. I mean, hey, everyone would like to go to USC for film school and what have you. But you have to sometimes just work with what you have. And ultimately, what you have is up here and in here. Yeah?
Yes, and I would have to say that when I went back to school, because I went back later, I had a better idea what I wanted to do with my degree once I got it.
Yeah.
So before, it was kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to go get a degree, and then I'll think about what I'm going to do with it later. And this time I had a target. You know, I said, I want to be able to do these things, and this degree is one step towards that, and made studying a lot easier.
Awesome.
Made studying a lot easier.
Very awesome on the stick.
Yeah, thanks.
Indeed. Indeed.
Right on.
I hear music in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're live, people. We're live.
And could be called at any moment.
We could be called at any moment. It could... Oh,
Dun, dun, dun.
what happened? Oh, for a moment there, the screen went dark.
We thought we saw the spinning wheel of death,
I thought it was a sign.
which is funny because it's a rainbow, and yet people still call it the spinning wheel of death. I've never understood that.
That death, it probably comes in a very happy, pleasing form, and we're just convinced it's some guy with a sickle. Right?
Yeah, right? It could be a pink fluffy unicorn. It could totally...
All is possible, right? All is possible.
And it speaks like that. It says, it is time to go.
What do you say?
Get on the bus.
Oh, Lordy, we digress here. We really do. So, something I want to talk to you about. This is like going back into the annals of history here. But how I first met Jonathan was we were doing an educational play.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yo, it was like 2004. Can you dig it?
Deep in gangsterdom.
Yeah, and we got to give a shout out for Adela Chu, because Adela got together, you and me,
Right?
and Kealoha, which I'm going to have to get all of them on the show at some point, because
Yes.
they all totally help prevent what I call, you know it, cultural erosion. And Adela penned this play called It Starts With a Can, because of the song that I came up with, All Across the Land, There's Trash on the Sand. So Adela put together a show and a little theatrical play that incorporated all of our skills and personas about how to save the Aina, how to be green, how to get into recycling, because this is right when Hawaii was launching the High Five campaign. And that was such a joy to work with you. That was almost a 2-year run. We went to schools in Nanakuli and out in Kaimuki and Waimanalo and Mililani. And I'll tell you
That was
this,
great.
I'm totally convinced like State of Hawaii had like one architectural plan for the school, and they just built the same school in like 10 locations.
If you've been to one cafeteria,
Chances are they have
You've been to
folding
them all.
tables and fluorescent lights overhead.
and about 3 to 5 concrete steps that lead to what
small
could be a stage.
But you know, I
Thomas Jefferson, that's my alma mater. We have one of those.
Noelani in the house.
I
right?
spent a year in Noelani.
Oh, far above the heavenly mist on the mountainside, there's a school that stands so noble that we hail with pride. I'm going to save you the agony of hearing the rest of the song. However, you know, sometimes I think about that play, and it's like, oh, those kids were in elementary school, and they're probably all, if they aren't teenagers by now, some of them might have even graduated,
Oh, yeah.
right? And so I wonder, like, do we make an impact? Like, if these kids saw us at Walmart, would they say, hey, you're that guy in the play. Has it happened to you?
I change my look so often
Yeah.
that my own friends don't recognize me.
Okay. We have to take another little break. You meditate on that. How many times have you changed your appearance in almost 10 years? If you haven't changed your appearance once in 10 years, ooh, you might want to check your pulse.
Aloha, I'm Nicole Horry for ThinkTech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Hori. Mahalo. Hello.
Aloha and welcome to The Art of Life. I'm your host, Willow Chang Alion, and here we are in ThinkTech Hawaii, live from Maui. We're here in the green room at the MAC. And I'm telling you, if you've never been to the MAC before, this is my first time. My goodness, what a beautiful, beautiful auditorium and concert hall this is. It's really first class. We're here because Hot Club of Hulaville is opening and putting on a show together with jazz master John Pizzarelli. I had hoped to have him, but he is out and about, so you've got me. Fancy that. We earlier had Jonathan Clark-Cyper in the hot seat. He went to go check because we have a sound check, so I may not be able to stay with you much longer. But I'm hoping that if you had a chance to check the earlier part of the show, some of the ideas that are of interest to me and hopefully you as well were addressed, and those are the importance of education, and that the idea and reality that education is a lifelong pursuit. I don't want to sound like I'm preaching to you, but give yourself a pat on the back. Every time you crack open a book, if you go to a botanical garden, if you watch something on Nova or what have you, or you talk story with your friend who knows, maybe they're studying fruit flies and they tell you about what they do at work. As crazy as that may sound, you're always in the process of learning something new, and I strongly encourage that. The other thing is this idea of preventing cultural erosion. You're going to find in Hawaii that we have a lot of people who devote their time, their energy, their heart, and their aloha to ensuring that we live in a beautiful, diverse place, a place that can share ideas freely and openly and celebrate each other's differences as well as our similarities. Hot Club of Hulaville is comprised of people from all walks of life, all different backgrounds, people who've made Hawaii their home, local boys, born and raised, songwriters, violinists, people in the symphony, you name it, we've got it. And that pretty much is very much what Hawaii is like as well. Something that Jonathan mentioned earlier today, which I think is also important, is he suggested that finding a higher power, finding a higher calling, whatever that might be. And don't be afraid if you just say, dude, I love Mother Nature, I'm a tree hugger, or I believe in the beauty of the stars. That's perfectly fine. It doesn't have to take on a human form. But the idea of knowing that you're connected to something bigger than yourself and that others are, that can be a very rewarding experience, and that might just give you the extra oomph that you need to get through a challenging time or a difficult day. And we all have them, including myself. So those are some of the things I was thinking about. I wish we had more time to talk about the Opala play. I might have to get those people back on, but it's been a joy. I enjoy being able to share something with you from the road. It's always fluid, it's always different. We had a bunch of people walking through in the back there, so I hope you're able to hear the audio. But just know that next week, yes, I'm looking into the crystal ball. Next week we have a special guest artist who is coming in all the way from Canada. A special musician who's going to be sharing with us about integrating contemporary music and Native American chants and music. You really don't want to miss that. I think being in a place like Hawaii that has a Native community, it's really interesting how there's this beautiful harmony and this dialogue with other groups of Native people and tribes, and I hope that you'll be able to tune in next Friday from 2 to 3 to come and hear the chief speak extensively about that. He's going to be far more eloquent on the matter than I am. So I'm just here to ask some interesting questions, hopefully questions that you would like to ask. And I'm going to lead with that. If you have something that you would like me to address or to ask any of my guests or for future shows, please feel free to contact me. You can reach me at Willow Chang Dance on Facebook or willowchang@hotmail.com. I hope that prompt was okay. Keep it civil, please, but I'm definitely open to ideas, even though Hawaii is my home and I've lived here essentially my whole life, and I do my best to find out other kindred spirits and interesting people. there's just no way that I can know every interesting person in Hawaii. This is where you come in. If there's someone that you think needs to form, needs to be heard, or some dialogue that needs to be instigated, please, I certainly encourage you to lend me your ear, lend me some of those ideas, and I'd be happy to give you credit for that on air. So, anyway, anything else that you'd like to know? Hello? I hear crickets. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This is The Art of Life. My name is Willow Chang Alion. If you have questions or concerns, our producer is Jay Fidel. You can check out our site at thinktechhawaii.com. We are on both YouTube and Spreaker. We have archival footage. You're welcome to just copy that link, send it to a friend. If your friends abroad want to know what's going on in Hawaii, or if you're an expatriate and you want to tune in and find out what's going on here in Hawaii, we welcome you to follow us. We have wonderful programming 5 days a week, I think even on the weekend on OC16. Check out our website for all of those details. It is always both an honor and a pleasure. And I hope you join us next Friday from 2 to 3 to meet the Chief. My name is Willow Chang Alion, and from Maui, as we say here in the islands, aloha and hui hou.